Goodness gracious, everyone. Happy October. What has happened? September's gone. Q3 is gone. We have entered the last quarter of the year. Let's do it. Let's talk football. This is the football NFL Week 4 algorithm. We're talking about the Thursday night game tonight. It's against two beaten down pretty bad teams in the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. As you can tell right here, the algorithm basically is consistent with what Vegas is saying. Can't see that with my head here. Basically, what's happening is we have the Broncos winning by a couple points, even though they're on the road here. A low scoring game. Um, really not much different than what Vegas is saying. So it's kind of like Denver probably wins because the Jets are really bad, but both these teams are not very good. Let's talk about the projections of points because I'm also going to talk about some fantasy implications. I have another file that I have built that automatically figures out possible fantasy lineups, and I want to show you how that works as well as talking about this game and how you would approach this game. So these are all the different players that kind of contribute to points on both of these teams. And you can see that, a green point is better than a red point. And so the kickers on both these teams are putting up the majority of the points for both of these teams because their quarterbacks are not great. Sam Darnold, not great. Jeff Driscoll come in for Drew Lock, who's hurt. So like the real points are coming from Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon on Denver. They're coming from the kicker, Jamison Crowder, Braxton Berrios, Frank Gore, who's like I believe 75 years old. He's crushing it. Anyway, point is, what you can do is you can actually grab these players. Okay, the ones that are at the top in my list. Grab them, and you can bring them over into this thing here and say, I think that Melvin Gordon is the captain I want to have in my one game competition on DraftKings. You just put the names in here, and then you can go and refresh this pivot, and it'll tell you if there's any way that you could combine a salary together that's underneath the cap. And you can't in this situation, so you have to get some other players. You'd have to grab them from this browse sheet where all the players would be listed in flex position. Like, you can see the prices of all these players right here. We're getting way into fantasy, but it's a cool application that I built for other people. And I mean, you can kind of like try to dictate game flow and figure out where to put people and see if it's possible to get them into your roster. And it gives you all the possible lineups. We still don't have any possible lineups. It looks like, yeah, it gets really difficult to figure it out. But I'm going to move back to the game real quick. So not a lot of points because the quarterbacks are not very good. Maybe you'll see some turnovers because the quarterbacks are not great, but not a really high scoring game. So um, one thing I could talk about last week wasn't a great week last week. Still week 3. We're still bringing in stats and everything. And I could talk about the upcoming week. I mean, this is the cube here. But basically, I just have so many other things going on. If you guys want to purchase this file, then I'm going to do a private video where I go through all of these games. I'm not going to go through them. Oh, I'll tell you what I wanted to show you. So I'm not going to go through the rest of week 4. You have to pay for that if you want to get that before, because it's not fair to the people that do pay for it. But what I will talk about is here in the season pivot sheet. The way when you buy this and you get this file, the way that you can change this and mess around with this to find historically how things would have gone better. For example, up here, I have this distribution of different factors related to the game. Okay. I have margin of victory, wins, points per game, offensive rating, and defensive rating. Now, I mess around with these numbers to figure out, well, historically, through the first 3 weeks of the season, what's the best distribution? We just looked at wins, and all we cared about was wins, who was won the most games historically, and we had this information at the beginning of the season. We would have won 92% of our games or something. But that's, of course, not realistic because you don't know who wins the game beforehand. But you can still use it as a guide. And I found that like distributions like this are pretty much like the best way to go. 15, 35. Gets you about 89% of your games correct. And so by doing this, you can then look at different weeks and see what the win strengths are. Like I'll give you a quick peek. Boom, that's the quick peek of what week 4 looks like, but I'm taking it away now. You got to buy it if you want it because it also involves point projections that are on a different sheet. So you can mess around with this, and if you care about a game being more like tonight's game is not going to have a lot of offense. So what if we said that this tonight's game was only about the defense? Who's going to win tonight's game if it was only about the defense? The answer is the Thursday night game, which is right, where'd you go? Thursday, right here. Denver actually wins this game handily if this game's only about defense, because the Jets' defense is apparently worse. So it's only the only place where the Jets are better than Denver is freaking nowhere. They're nowhere. The Jets aren't better than Denver in any one of these categories anyway. So I guess you got to take Denver tonight. I guess that's what we've learned from this. Well, let's back up and put a reasonable distribution right there, because that brings us back to how we analyze the game. So this is week 4. If you're interested in this or the fantasy application that generates lineups, I mean, I do this sometimes. Like it's fun. Like the way to win at fantasy is to have a ton of different lineups predicting game flow. Like you'll put the quarterback up here in the captain position and all the offensive players you can on down here and try to get all the lineups possible and then just upload them and put them in at like 50 cents a piece or something, have some fun. And if you have one of the lineups that wins, you can win a big multiplier in your investment. It's a fun way to watch the game, because every single play matters when you have all these different lineups. So this application was good because if you want to sit and do this one by one to try to get everybody a lineup, you will waste your time and you will hate your life. You have to have a program do that for you. So anyway, I guess go Denver. However, I lose every Thursday night game. I lost last night's. I think I lost the week before. I might have got the first one right, but historically my Thursday night picks are awful. So instead of this game being 2018, it'll probably be 47 to 109, and the Jets will win with 12 touchdowns. That's how bad my Thursday night predictions are. Anyway, if you're interested in week 4, go to kenbraverman.com. $100 for the season. You get this every week, or $25. Nah, just do $100 for the season. That's the only one I'm offering. I can't do this week by week. If you want to do it for the season, do it. And good luck to all of us.